Hi, I'm Michael Rose from Five9. Welcome to another episode of Take5 with Five9. Joining us today is Chris Greenberg, Director of Customer Service and Support at Partech, one of Five9's customers. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, always want to check in with people. You know, this pandemic has changed a lot of what we do and how companies have had to pivot. What's been the experience for Partech? How have you seen business through this time? Particularly because you service the restaurant industry.
Right. You know, there's been a lot of change in the trends that we've seen. We haven't really seen any kind of decrease in volume, which was interesting. I think everybody thought there was going to be this large drop off in terms of calls that we would get into the call center and customer service, but there really wasn't. What we saw was more of a change in what stores and customers were calling about. So we get more questions on drive-through. We get more questions on mobile online orders and things like that. So while the volume didn't decrease, the trends really did change from what we were seeing a few months ago to what we are now.
Okay. And of course, you would have had to move your contact center agents to a work from home model. How was that experience and how did cloud help you enable that to go?
Yeah, and that's been actually one of the positive things that have kind of come out of all this is we had previously worked from home and sent agents to work from home in very short situations. Perhaps there's a snowstorm or something like that, right? And so we knew that we had the ability and the capability to do it on a short-term basis, but what we didn't really know is if we were going to be able to sustain that on a longer-term basis. We've had agents working from home now for a few months. The fact of getting that set up was super easy, like the logistic parts of it. It didn't take a lot. All they had to do was take their laptops home, take their headsets home. They were ready to go. They were ready to work. We've seen some huge efficiency gains in it, actually, in terms of, it's surprising, when you take out the commute into your day, just how much more time that adds back. So we've seen that as a gain. We've also seen and had the ability to really measure what the agents are doing. And that's helped tremendously, right? We can know exactly what agents are doing. We can know exactly what they might need help with, what we need to change. And it's really made it a very easy and relatively simple thing to be able to do to have them all work from home.
Now, interestingly too, we're now talking about sort of post-pandemic, hopefully. And a lot of people are saying work from home will become the new normal. What do you think Partech's model will be? Will you have everybody go back to work or will you continue with what you've been doing?
We're definitely evaluating if it would be better in some situations to not necessarily have anybody or everybody return back to work, right? So it's something that we're not rushing back to do. We definitely don't need to do things too soon and get people back in the office too early. But it is having us reevaluate if there are some other efficiency gains we can have in certain situations with having certain teams or on certain days, work from home. Holidays as an example, right? Definitely a lot better experience for agents to be able to work from home on holidays and have to come into the office. So that's something that we're, playing around with the idea of, and there are other similar ideas that we're working through right now.
Sounds to me too, Chris, like you had a really solid business continuity plan already in place prior to the pandemic that's helped guide you. Is that a fair statement? And how important is it for a business to have this business continuity plan in place?
Yeah, it's definitely important to have a plan like that in place and to be constantly reevaluating it and seeing what needs to be changed with it. We've done this before, like I said, on a much smaller level. But we had thought of the idea of, hey, what if this needs to happen for longer than a couple days of a snowstorm or longer than a long weekend, right? In terms of what equipment needs to, be able to be in place for it to be enabled. What kind of measurements do we need to already have in place so that when we start it, we can begin measuring it and see if there is a drop off or if there's anything that needs to change. So not only having that plan in place, but constantly reevaluating it, constantly looking at, what needs to change with our daily procedures and whatnot to be able to make sure that works.
No, they're pretty solid guiding principles. And just one final question, then I always like to ask people this, and we're getting a sneak peek of your work from home environment. What have been some of the best things for you working from home? And what are some of the sort of things that can be a little bit traumatic from time to time?
So I enjoy working from home. It's very comfortable. It takes the commute out of things. And so it's a very everything's at your convenience, really. The temperature of what you want the room to be, you can set to whatever you like, little things like that. So I enjoy it myself. Some of the challenges, I think a lot of what people are experiencing across the world are, you probably have your kids home with you now, right? And you have little ones that, need little things throughout the day, maybe need help with their schoolwork right now, maybe need the snack or whatever made for them. And while that's not, a huge challenge, it is a little one that comes up. I myself have several kids here, so it's a bit of a challenge. But, so there are little things that you want to make sure that you're doing throughout the day to kind of keep your mind and body healthy, to make sure you're not, just sitting there doing work all day, because it's very, very easy to get into that repetition of just, sitting behind your computer and plopping down and sitting there. So little things to make sure your mind and body are healthy. But overall, I think it's been a pretty good experience, and we've gotten through it pretty well.
Excellent. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And glad to hear that everything's going well for our customer Partech. So thank you again. That was Chris Greenberg, Director of Customer Service and Support for Partech. I'm Michael Rose. Until next time, bye-bye.